How to achieve more by doing less. Do you ever wonder how exactly you're supposed to be getting to all the stuff that's on your schedule? Trying to get to all your work, trying to make some progress on your career or your studies, trying to do something meaningful for yourself, and in between all that, trying to have some semblance of a social life. What if we try and change our mindset around this? And instead of trying to pile on more onto our plate, we actually decrease what's on our plate. And in doing that, we actually make more progress and get more stuff done. By having a counterintuitive mindset where instead of trying to accomplish more by doing more, we try and subtract more to accomplish more. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how intentional living and essentialism can help us live a more productive, effective life, and also really enjoying what matters most to us. So, the steps to do so. Number 1, learn to say no more. We often feel the sense of social pressure whenever someone asks us to do something, to help with something, to help with a project, to go out for coffee, or any type of request that will take a commitment of our own time. This can be a work-related request or social request alike. We often feel like it will seem rude or that we might face some unknown social consequence for us declining someone's offer to help them or to meet up with them. However, the more you start to prioritize the few very important things and start to say no to the majority of the other kind of irrelevant things, people will actually start to respect you more because you are less available. People like limited edition things because of its rarity. So make yourself a limited edition by limiting your time and your availability to others and other people's requests. When you do this and you actively start to say no more to requests that come your way, you'll start to see that you have more time, that you command more respect, and that you actually get more stuff done. Number 2, set daily highlights for yourself. A daily highlight is something I've been using for a number of years now, and it's really great in setting your priorities for the day. Basically, what your daily highlight is the top 1 to top 3 tasks that you need to get done that day. What are the few major tasks that if you get this done for the day, you will feel productive and you'll be happy with how the day turned out? Write that in your diary or your journal or wherever you generally write your to-dos for the day, and make sure that that is the main priority. I normally just use a normal diary because then it's the physical act of me getting it onto paper. So it just helps me remember and visualizes what exactly it is that I need to get done. I normally write it on the right hand margins of the page so that the rest of the page I've got for all the other to-dos that need to happen, but that this is a major priority and that I see it often. This follows kind of in the same vein as Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog, where you write down the major tasks for the day and you first focus on getting those done. Because once that major task is done, the rest of your day will be a breeze, but you've dealt with the most important task of the day first. If we don't prioritize our day, we'll look back at the end of the day realizing that we didn't accomplish anything of value. So it's good for us to make allowances for that and to write down the most important task at the beginning of the day. This helps us with structure and discipline and will give us overall clarity on what it is that we need to do. Number 3, eliminate the non-essentials. Learn to say what is essential. We previously learned to say no to make room for what is actually important. We now need to look at what is worth us saying yes to and what is worth investing our time towards. Take time and decide what is essential to you and your life, because what is essential to you is absolutely unique. What is absolutely essential to you that you feel that you're actually investing the right amount of time to? So that's why it's important that you take stock of what you think is important, not the general idea of what others say is important. What relationships are important to you? What goals are important to you? What skills and hobbies do you want to make time for? Write a list of what are the most important things to you and rank them in order of importance, and then next to that, how much time you want to invest into each category. It might be interesting to see after you've written that list of what's actually important to you and how much time you want to dedicate to it, to actually take stock and see how much time are you actually dedicating right now to what is important to you, and see what the difference is. Learn to ask yourself as you're thinking and working through this list, what is essential? Because often we can think, well, this is important to us, but is it actually essential and vital to you and your life? As Marcus Aurelius put it, most of the things we do and say are not essential. Number 4, learn to focus on the few important things. Now that we've gone through the trouble of picking what it is that we want to focus on, what is important to us, now we actually have to make sure that we actually do it and spend time on what is important to us. We cannot trust that we will just remember what is important to us and that we'll do it. There is a higher likelihood that we will do it, because if something is important to us, we'll intrinsically remember it much easier than if it's something that we didn't want to do in the first place. We still, however, need to create a routine and structure for all the things that are important to our life, so that once we focus on them, it will become a habit. So from the few important things that we need to be intentional about, we need to design our life so that we have more structure, so that we can be as intentional as possible on the few important things. So plot them onto your calendar, or put them into your phone, or get someone to hold you accountable. Number 5, decrease, delegate, or delete. It's easier to say no to social commitments, even though it might feel bad saying no to people, opportunities, or social events. It does and will become easier to say no over time. And as we mentioned before, most people will respect your decision, even though initially they might be saddened by your refusal. But there are other times in our professional life where it can seem a lot harder to say no to requests, as there's a greater sense of consequences if you say no to those requests. For example, if I say no to my boss, I might get fired. This is a pretty big consequence, so naturally we tend to say yes to more and take on more when we are asked to do more. However, to overcome this, we can employ the 3 Ds of intentional work: decrease, delegate, and delete. If you literally and physically cannot get to all the work and tasks that you need to without working massive amounts of overtime, then something needs to change, something needs to decrease. If your boss asks you to focus on a task, say gladly, but what other task is this more important as? Because I'm currently working on this task, which is marked as a very high priority. Do you want me to prioritize this new task over the high priority task I'm currently busy with? If not, after I'm finished with this task, I will gladly take on this other task. You're setting boundaries and expectations, and also communicating what is actually feasible. If you're also in the fortunate position to delegate some of your work to your colleagues, then also learn to do so. Delegation is a skill of leadership. This does not just mean you shove all your work onto someone else. Delegation is giving a project or task to someone who can potentially learn and grow from this experience and will help them in furthering their career. Or you're giving a project or task to someone who will be able to do it much faster and more effectively than you. By doing this, you are exercising time management and delegation. You're shifting a task to someone who can do it quicker and more effectively, and freeing your time up so that you can focus on what is most important. Again, delegation needs to be done in an empowering way with the end goal of increased productivity. Delete everything that is not important. Not everything is important, not everything will yield results. Find the time wasters and the things that drain you, and whatever doesn't add to your productivity or the company's. Then, delete that habit or that task. Deleting time wasters or finding a way to streamline the unimportant things can save you time and free you from commitments. Number 6. Simplify, don't overcomplicate. In many areas of life, we tend to overcomplicate because we have this weird idea that life should be complicated. If it's not complex, how can it be good? Or if it's not complicated, how can people take us seriously? But it was Leonardo da Vinci that said, simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. And Einstein that said, if you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, you do not understand it yourself. 2 great men who both believed in simplicity and distilling complex ideas into its most simple form and steps. Keeping things simple in a complicated world is a test of its brilliance. So simplify your life, your habits, your routines, your finances, and distill everything down to its essence. What is the main goal we are trying to reach in each of these areas in our overcomplicated life, and simplify from there. To have a better morning routine, you don't have to do 10 things to feel productive. Do 2 things with intent. You will see a world of difference, and from that you can use that same principle and apply it to everything in your life. It is easier than ever for us to create and automate systems to do certain tasks to help us free up our time so that we can be more effective and efficient with our time. Again, helping us to focus on what is actually important. We've decided on what is important, we've scheduled it, and we're starting the habit on focusing on less but better. Then we can take it a step further by implementing AI software tools or any kind of software that you have at your disposal to further automate the irrelevant tasks. Create meal plans and cook a week in advance. Use AI to automate your emails. Use Notion to track and manage your tasks. You can further create systems that help you save time, money, and effort by automating the irrelevant or repetitive tasks that you do throughout the day. So ask yourself, what is consuming your day? What are the repetitive things that you can automate or decrease? Number 8, use your phone. Don't let your phone use you. With trying to live a more intentional life, we can often forget that a tool is just a tool and that the tool isn't the end goal itself. Productivity and time saved need to be implemented for an end goal. We are more effective so that we can focus on what is essential. Oftentimes our phones are a great source of productivity, but it can also be a great source of distraction. It's important to remember that we use tools to get a job done, and that's all. Our phones are supposed to help us, not hinder us from getting to our important tasks. So track your screen time effectively. Set timers, limits, and blockers in place so that you use the tool effectively and free yourself from the distraction so that you can be focused on what is intentional and what really matters. Number 9. Do not always be on or accessible. This point ties into 2 points we've already discussed before. One is by limiting the amount of time we are on our phone and limiting the amount of time we use the tool so that it doesn't use us. The other side of that is being more focused and more present at work and what we're actually doing. The next step is not to always be accessible. We're not deliberately not going to answer phone calls now, but not being the first person to jump on an email chain or the first person to respond in a group chat. Not always being accessible and not always being contactable. If everyone can always get a hold of you all the time and you're always available to help, how valuable is your time actually? There is value in rarity and there is value in inaccessibility. Delay being accessible because you are focused on the important tasks that require focused effort. By decreasing your distractions, you'll gain a higher quality of output, which will result in more respect. Number 10, become more valuable at work. When we implement all the steps we previously spoke about into our work life, we will end up getting more valuable things done that actually makes a difference. We will, as a result of this change in priority, work ethic and mindset, we will become more valuable to the company as a whole, which will help us to be able to negotiate for higher positions and better raises in the future. We often think that being seen as busy or overloaded will translate to us being seen as hard workers. But the reality is that the results matter most. Most of the trivial small things that we keep ourselves busy with will generally not translate to anything in the long run. But focusing on the few core things that really matter will drastically change the trajectory of our future. And by focusing on the few core things in our work will make us more valuable in an economic sense as well. And having that ability to get the important things done will serve you throughout your entire working career. These ideas and concepts were largely inspired by the book Essentialism from Greg McKeown, which I absolutely love and I recommend to anyone. He also has a book called Effortless, which I'll definitely make another video on later on. He also has a Skillshare course based on the book, which I've done and I highly recommend. For some of these steps, I've created action plans and templates that you guys can download from our website through the links in the description. So if you want to live a life where you achieve more by doing less, following these steps will be a great starting point to start from. This will hopefully help us move towards our goal of living an intentional and fulfilling life and move towards success. So thank you all for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.